Might up if I turn my mic on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 123 of Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. Thank you so much for joining us. We have, returning in this episode, one of my favorite humans, Suanne Braun, who played Hathor in Stargate SG-1. She's going to update us on what she's been doing. We have a special clip for you on something that you might want to check out. Check in on Hathor Hosts and see what might be coming up in the future, and take some questions from the community at youtube.com/dialthegate. But before we begin, if you like Stargate and you want to see more content like this continuing on YouTube, please consider clicking that like button. It makes a difference with the YouTube algorithm and will help the show continue to grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend, and if you want to get notified about future episodes, click that subscribe icon. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on the GateWorld.net YouTube channels, and then later on in the year when I go on hiatus. Now, as this is a live episode, Suanne is live with us in Britain, so she will be taking fan questions directly from youtube.com/dialthegate via me. So our moderators are in there curating questions for Suanne. So if you have something to ask her, please go right ahead and ask now. Suanne Braun, Hathor, Stargate SG-1, Sophie, and many other characters from Dying Light 2 as well. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And my goodness, 123 shows.
I
David,
know.
that is...
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It has been a wild ride, you know, and these are not easy to produce. So
No.
Wrangling guests and making the time and everything else. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, congratulations. I'm so delighted that it's continuing to do so well. And, you know, it's just been amazing. And I'm thrilled.
Thank you. So what's been going on with you? We're beginning to get out of this pandemic hole, starting to return to, well, other things in the world. But I mean, what's been going on with you? Jeez.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, just before I went on, I made the stupid mistake of looking at the news headlines, and I see all our COVID cases are rocketing straight back up.
Oh, you're kidding.
Nah. And so, yeah, I'm not sure we are over the worst of it yet, but fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I have had quite an eventful time, I think, since I last saw you. I pretty much spent most of last year because we were kind of in and out of lockdowns.
Yes.
So my year really was like two extremes. I was finishing up the Princess Switch trilogy, which we shot in Scotland. And then I kind of went from that into the complete opposite. And my first game, where I voiced the character of Sophie in Dying Light 2, amongst others, several other characters. And that was sort of spanned about 8 or 9 months, which was fantastic.
Work.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was absolutely brilliant because initially I had no idea it was going to be as long as it was. So in the very first email that I got about it when they confirmed it was just for 3 days. And then they called me back for another 3 days and then another 3 days. And I was kind of like, because I've done lots of voice work, but not gaming, I wasn't really sure what the procedure was. So I was just like, okay. And then kind of about 2 weeks in, they went, look, we'd like you to play this part. And then like the work really began kind of thing. So that was just brilliant and loved it. Loved every second of it.
So what is it like? Because you've done voice work before. What is it like doing for a video? Did you do motion capture for this? I don't think this game has motion capture in it.
No, it
strictly
doesn't.
Voice.
I think they did do a tiny bit of motion capture for the parkour stuff.
Right. There's a lot of leaping and climbing and jumping.
Exactly. So this was like quite difficult actually, because also they were changing the animations all the time. And so a lot of the time you would get given a sketch, which may or may not be complete, of a character, and then a kind of brief description. And then they could all see me. So I was in a studio, everyone could see me, and people were remote, and we had people all over the world. So Techland are based in Poland, and then we had producers in LA, and the director was in London, and we were recording at Side Studios, the brilliant Side Studios in London, who also have offices in LA.
Wow.
And then they would kind of show me and say, what do you think this character should sound like? Or sometimes they would go, she's European or American, or we don't want this. They were trying to stay away from very British characters. So I played one English character, and the rest were all American or other nationalities. And then they just sort of let you play, and very quickly, because also the drawings are kind of like useful in the description. So very quickly they'd kind of go, we like this, the second voice you did, let's go more on that ballpark. But with Sophie, they had a really very, very clear idea. And they basically wanted my voice, just standard American, sort of sounding like me. I mean, she's the closest one, I think, to sounding like me, just she's American. Wow.
Now, was this 8 months of development for just Sophie, or for all the different characters that you did? Is that why it took as long as it? I'm just so surprised to hear it taking that long. I guess, I'm not accustomed to in the stories that I've heard about production for audio for a game that taking that long. And to be fair, this is a game where you basically choose your fate. There are different narrative branch points, to be sure. So they probably had more going on than your typical parkour video game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's an epic cast. There's so many people involved. I wasn't in every single day, so it spanned 8 months on and off. So sometimes I'd be in every day for a month, then I'd have like 2 weeks off, and then I'd go in for a day or 2 days. With Sophie, that was the bulk of the work for me. And then I play another character called Anna, and she was probably about 2 days work. And then they're little bits and bobs. So I would sometimes come in. So how they do it is they book a session.
Right.
And when there's smaller roles, so the session's like 4 hours. And in those 4 hours, you maybe go through 3 or 4 characters.
Wow.
And one of the characters I did, I'm slightly disappointed. The character stayed, but my version of her, I think they were all a bit like, because they wanted her to be, she's like a really tough soldier, very matter of fact. And they didn't want her to be American, or they weren't sure if they wanted her to be American. And I was like, she has to be South African. Like, this really tough. And I think they were all kind of like, I'm not sure about that. Anyway, we recorded the whole kind of character, whose name is Maya. We recorded all of her as South African. I never heard another word. So I was like, okay, I guess somebody higher up was like, no.
Well, you know what? If you don't try, then how can
exactly.
Right. You had to put your spirit in it, and sometimes people aren't going to bite.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, we would do stuff. There was another character who was kind of old and almost like a witch. And I had a very clear idea of what I wanted, and they loved it. But then like 2 weeks later, I went back and they were like, it sounds a bit similar to this character, which we didn't realize because there's so many characters. So I was like, okay, fine, quick, alteration. And we kind of redid stuff. And the hard thing, like one of the big challenges when you can't see what the action. So I found that quite difficult. And then I know like the matching the mouth has been, I think I sort of read somewhere that that's come up a bit in this game.
Oh.
But yeah,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, some of them, they changed Sophie completely. She looked completely different when I did the recording. Oh. So I can safely say that was not my fault. But I think, listen, they are the coolest, loveliest people, Techland. And I'm just so delighted to be in a game, and it like to say, I'd gone, as I said, from Mrs. Donatelli, who's Mrs. Christmas and lovely and family and come on, children, let's all go, to a woman who's like, kill them all.
It's post-apocalyptic, zombies, brains.
Exactly. I'm like slow motion.
So let's take a look at one of the quote unquote cutscenes. It's not exactly a cutscene. This game doesn't really have cutscenes. It stays in the perspective of the first person. They're looking right at you, which in my opinion heightens the intensity of the situation, because you're not placed outside of the body when there's story development. Let's take a look at Sophie. You've brought a clip. Okay, we'll be right back. Check this out.
Sophie? Who did this?
You. You. And the peacekeepers. Your friends. They attacked the bazaar. Most of us died trying to protect it. I told you. Told you they were murderers. All their empty claims of wanting peace. And look. Look what they've done to the bazaar. My home. Does this look like peace, Aiden? So many years of work. So many years of fighting. Why did you even come here?
I'm looking for Dr. Veronica Ryan.
Well, then you're a lucky son of a bitch. She survived.
Where is she now?
Why would I tell you?
Sophie, I didn't start this war. I was trying to warn you.
You know what? Okay. That bitch Ryan used to help the PK. Said they're people just like us, and they're not. Whatever you want from her, we'll probably get her killed anyway, knowing you. Which is good. I wish that for her. And as far as I know, there are also some renegades trying to take her out. Last I heard, she was hiding in a building north of Quarry End. Courtesan Row Street.
Thank you.
Get out of my sight. You miserable wretch. I'm sorry, Mother. So much work.
That was extremely cool. So tell us about that big scene. You said you had a story.
Yeah, so that scene was done right near the end of my journey on the game. And on the day that we recorded it, we were filming inside, and they had me in essentially a music studio. So really big. There's a piano and drums, and obviously because they were so busy. And there was lots of stuff like running and sounds and all the kind of effort sounds as well. And then the director said, I really want like this to be, she's completely and utterly defeated, speaking to her mother, dead mother, like you have to go for it. But I had no idea, like obviously there was no cutscene, no reference.
Right.
And they're just these disembodied voices going, okay, that was nice, but can you do again, please? Because anyway, we kind of went from this, like it got more and more, because in the beginning, I think I was much more contained. And eventually the producers were all kind of going like more. So by the end, I was on the floor, like in the studio on all fours, kind of like, weeping. And I remember at one point thinking, God, if this isn't good enough, then I don't know. But it's really hard because we are so used to seeing a face that gives you the emotion of what someone's saying. It's really difficult when it's just your voice, because I would feel I was giving it and, really, so invested. And
they're not seeing your facial performance, you're saying?
They could see my facial performance. I couldn't see anyone else.
Oh.
Yeah, I couldn't see anyone else. So they all had a camera on me in the studio, and I'm, reading. And also you have no one else with you. So if someone else has already recorded their lines, they will feed you that line, but often it isn't. So you've got someone who's not a performance-based person just reading the line for you, or you have to guess. And that was quite difficult. And they do it unlike a performance in many ways, where, you know, if it was an acting monologue, you would take the whole piece in one chunk and do it. With this, it's very broken up. So it's really hard to sustain a level like that, particularly when she's so upset. But in the end, we had one day, and I was crying. I had like snot coming out my nose. I was like, and finally they were like, that was great. And I was like, oh, thank God for that.
Don't make me do it again.
So yeah, it was all worth it in the end. But it's really challenging because you forget when you can't see someone's face. You know, you have to find other ways, other nuances to make a point apart from just getting louder. You know?
Absolutely. Suanne, you know, so the platforms, if you want to go play Dying Light 2, you can find it on Microsoft Windows, PlayStations 4 and 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and I believe there's a Nintendo Switch version that's also being ported right now. They're working on that. So there's a lot of places that you can get this game. Join me on Steam. So I'm a big Steam gamer myself. But this is great stuff. Are you going to put yourself out there for another video game project? Do you think
Yes,
you've got the bug?
I would love to. I would absolutely love to. And I, you know, I'm auditioning for things all the time. So fingers crossed. I mean, I would absolutely love to do another one.
What type of game would you want to, if you had your pick of the litter, what type of game would you like to do next? Would you like to do something mocap? Would you like to try that out?
I would love to try mocap. I mean, I'm not so keen on the outfits. Like, I've never seen anyone pull it off.
Well, they're not doing it for fashion.
But I know, but I would be willing to suffer. But yeah, I'd love to do a mocap one. I'd love to do something really, well, obviously, naturally, if there was ever a Stargate game, hello.
Absolutely.
Love to do that. But otherwise, something quite sort of fantasy based, like The Witcher or something like that, like a Game of Thrones type epic, you know, something with powerful, badass women.
Absolutely. This is good. Yeah, no, you keep on hammering away at it. And once you get that first credit, you know, I would think that the first video game credit would be the hardest to get, but maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it certainly was for me. I mean, I had auditioned kind of on and off for about 7 years for this company, and sometimes getting really, really close. I kind of got callbacks for a Star Wars, got one that they were doing for Star Wars Lego, but didn't get it in the end. And so I was like and I got to a point where I was like, well, obviously they just don't like my voice. But I think what happens, well, and also I think sometimes you're just not exactly right for that project, or someone else becomes about, you know, it makes me realize that it so often is about slotting people in to make the best fit. And, you know, luckily this time around it worked out for me.
Absolutely. You know, one of my favorite television shows is Lost, and they actually in many cases they brought in actors that were auditioning for one part, but they were like, you know what, I'm in love with this performance and this performer, let's create a character for her. And like always in the back of my mind, I would think, you know, well, if I can't make it in this one, maybe they can create something out of, let's collaborate and put something together based on what you are providing. Let's be willing to alter or adjust something that we had so that we can create this beautiful thing together. But it sounds like they're just plugging people in.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, I mean, they are exceptional at what they do at SART. And I think voice casting is a completely different thing to anything else. It's a really, really, casting in general is such an amazing and underappreciated skill. Mm-hmm. And I think voice casting particularly. So I am so thrilled that after many years of trying to get in the door, I'm in, and now they're never going to get rid of me.
And this industry is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. This thing is, and it's growing year over year with all these with all these tournaments that are developing and everything else. This is like the next big thing for sure.
Yeah.
So.
I think one of the things too that I found so completely liberating is the sense of play. And I genuinely mean that, because very often when I audition now, because I am ancient and of a certain age, it's like the roles are so like two-dimensional. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, either the women are all like either desperate cougars, drunk and desperate in a corner at a wedding, or sort of terribly prim and, you know, never married anybody and so unhappy and uptight. Or, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. It's like, there's a fantastic line in a film with Goldie Hawn playing, and she's like, there are only three ages in Hollywood. It's ingenue, district attorney, and driving Miss Daisy. And I'm like, I've passed district attorney and I'm just before driving Miss Daisy.
Well, you know, I think that's slowly changing. My mother I haven't seen a great deal of it. My mother loves this show called Call the Midwife.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, there are a lot of more we have a long way to go, but the nuanced roles for women are starting to appear a little bit more frequently.
Exactly.
But again, we've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So.
But we're getting there. It is getting better. And I loved that with the game, I could go to work in like a tracksuit and
right?
no makeup, and I could play like the sexy whatever, or I could play an ancient old crone or a little boy,
right,
or like this punk rocker chick. It was so brilliant just by changing my voice, you know? So that kind of sense of play that you have at drama school and that you have when you first start acting, like you don't really see that much anymore, because the industry is so huge now that, you know, if they're looking for somebody who is fluent in 2 languages and can dance on one leg while juggling eggs being fried, they can find it. You know what I mean?
Someone out there can pull it off.
Yeah.
And one of those lost arts, I think that I'm beginning to see a little bit more of with the likes of Audible and some of these other app offerings is radio dramas. You know, that's another, except in the video game instance, it's being converted into something visual, but there's a lot coming back in terms of being captivated by just an audio story. And that's something that actors can do, right, in a tracksuit. You know, they just have to have time to get into the headspace, and then they're good to go. So
Exactly.
I have some fan questions.
Oh, let's go.
And so number one, right off the top of the bat, is one that many people are asking and that I started with. Damien Robbie wants to know, when is the next series of Hathor Hosts? Can you tell us a little bit about your thought process?
You guys. So yeah, I would love to do another series. I definitely think that there are actors who I still haven't got to. There's so many people I would still like to interview. I have a great idea of making it. I feel like if we're going to come back, it needs to bump up a level and go, you know, I hate this phrase, but like to the next level. And I would really love to be able to make the show grow in a way that I am envisioning. And the reason I'm being so cagey is because I'm in discussions with people, but it has been very lengthy and very slow, and COVID is really messing us up again.
Okay.
Because one of the ideas is to have a situation where people come to the show. So that's sort of all I can say at this stage, but where it's actually the same show, but a bit like, you know, where you go and watch your favorite, like Oprah or Graham Norton.
So you're talking a potential physical space.
A physical space, but also being broadcast at the same time. So we get, you know, so we're trying to figure out the best way on how to do that, how to make it happen, how to get people to and fro, whether it is better to maybe stay for the time being in the virtual arena. I am thankfully quite busy this year. That's the other challenge. Is, as you know, it takes a lot of work, and some of the things I'm busy with are just personal things. My beloved dad passed away a few months ago, And so I need to go back to South Africa just to sort some stuff on his estate, which I'm hoping to do mid-year. And then I've got the fantastic Prague Comic Con coming up at the end of April. So I am quite busy until about June, July. And then I'm not sure about the rest of the year. So it's sort of trying to work out when, and also working, as you well know, around actors' schedules.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's so great that people are asking. So would you guys like to see another series is the question.
Absolutely.
Please, David, anything.
Absolutely. So, however you want to configure it next, I am down.
Yeah.
So just give me a seat on the ground floor.
Oh, honey, you're going to come and be like co-host with me, I think.
I'd love to do an episode.
Woohoo!
Absolutely. Your magnetism is what people tune in for, you know, and it's one of the reasons that I love having you on, because I know that I'm going to laugh myself sick at some point. So, Linda Alexander, Suanne, what memory from SG-1 makes you laugh the most when remembering? Because of a scene that was funny or even wasn't meant to be funny.
Yeah. Oh, Linda, great question. And hello. So I have two that spring to mind. One is, as you know, RDA, Rick and Chris Judge were like, we were all quite keen on the prank, on kidding around and having fun. And I just remember lots and lots of like, banter, bants, as they say, the Cockneys, bants, mate. So have a little bit of bants. There would be lots of banter backwards and forwards. And in all these scenes, like, I remember very clearly one day when I was like blowing the mist, and obviously because the mist was put in afterwards, it was just me going like a goldfish, you know, sort of doing that. And like out of nowhere, Rick would be like, "Whoa, who had onions for lunch, man? God damn." So we'd have that, or, you know, I'd just be leaning in seductively and somebody behind me would go, and sometimes not with their mouths. So there was a lot of that. And then there was bits like when I had to open the sarcophagus and Rick was inside. He went through a whole phase of like holding up little pieces of paper like, "Hello, gorgeous," or, you know, 9 out of 10, or just like, "Do better." So, and they're all my close-ups, and I'm like, you know. So that was the, and then the other kind of not so funny, but funny in retrospect, was when we were filming the shrimp scene in the bath.
That's true.
Yeah, you know, going shrimping. They were very kind and had sort of heated the bath to like a good, you know, body temperature, because I was in it for quite a while. But I think they hadn't worked or realized that these, the larvae, the sort of little gold larva thingies, the symbiotes, were, you know, a plastic that after 3 hours started to smell a bit funky. And I remember I was like, God, is this, what is in this water? Anyway. I finished at the end of that day's shooting, and I was, you know, when your fingers are all shriveled because you've been in the water for hours, and I get into like the car and I could see the driver a bit like, and get into the hotel, and I'm in the lift, in the elevator, and the lift doors are closing, and then someone gets in and she's like, "Oh," and it was me. I stank so badly. It had like seeped into my skin, and it just sort of had this like stinky rubber smell, which for about 2 days I think I walked around like trying to hide from everyone.
Like you and the symbiotes were pretty symbiotic.
Exactly, we were joined, fused.
Do you know how many years after those things were given away at Gatecon and a number of other events for auction items, those little Daniel Hathor symbiotes?
Oh really? No.
Yes, they were because it was a bulk item, and it's one of the things that when Gatecon would come around, either Evil Kenny or someone else in the props department would go in and they would select items for Gatecon to auction off, because the Stargate production was really good about that, and they would give like there was like a DNA slide from an episode called Scorched Earth. They had rows and rows of these plastic things, and one of the others was the Daniel symbiotes. And I remember seeing pretty much every year another one would be brought out. I can't remember how much they went for.
Give away my babies.
Your babies, one by one, were given away. And I'd love to see, like, if anyone's listening to me, if they can, like, post a Twitter link or something, if anyone's got one out there. I'd love to see one. And so it's... But
Are they
were given away for
teenagers
years.
now?
Probably teenagers. Absolutely. So probably bothering someone else in the back of the neck. So,
yes, exactly.
But hopefully they're not bathing with them.
Yes,
So.
yes.
Jeez. Teresa MC. Suanne, pick, if it wasn't Hathor, pick your next Stargate role.
Oh, good question. Well, I think if I wasn't going to play, I mean, if the show ever comes back, I would so love to be in it in any shape or form, whether that is playing an armchair, but whatever.
Mocap to the extreme.
Yeah, exactly. I could go there, man. I could be like the captain's chair. I would actually love to be someone on the team or someone medical, although the medical ones always have really difficult dialogue. You've got to sprout all that medical stuff. But I'd quite like to be a doctor. And if not, then I love the idea of... whoops.
Just my desk falling. Go ahead.
Are you all right?
Yeah, everything's fine. I'm going to need some super glue, though.
I'd either like the idea of Hathor returning, but in a different capacity, so that she doesn't necessarily look the same. Well, obviously she doesn't look the same, but that she doesn't, you know what I mean? That it isn't just that one side of her with the mist, and that she's learned a trick or two, or that she teams up with someone like Apophis or something like that, or
other
a new
villains,
or other villains, yes, and becomes their arch nemesis.
What is it that's so delicious about playing the villain? Is it just that you can explore aspects of yourself that you wouldn't normally in a civilized society, or is it something deeper?
Yeah, I mean, definitely with Hathor particularly, she's so utterly in control and so completely doesn't question anything. She believes she's doing everything for her. Her reasoning is, I'm doing it because that's what has to be done. And that is not like me at all. So I love being able to play things that are not close to me, which one, again, doesn't really get to do very often. You often get to play things that are much closer to what you are. So I love that about her. And I think that, again, it would be really interesting to see Hathor in an updated, more current version, because I think that the version that we did in the 90s wouldn't hold up now. Her behavior was quite questionable in certain aspects. And so I think that there would be ways to find more dastardly deeds for her to do, but in a kind of more contemporary way. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, I'd love to be one of the team, even if it's playing, I don't care, whatever it is.
Absolutely. What in the later seasons of SG-1, ghouls were using a particular female ghoul, I believe it was Athena, if I'm not mistaken, was using a business environment to maintain power and control. And that would have been interesting to place. I don't know if I can see her in a business environment, but place Hathor in another position of power, where she's running a corporation to achieve her own ends.
Oh my God, yeah,
but it's still Hathor. Ball was doing that. She was working under Ball. So
I totally see her as a businesswoman or a politician. I mean, politicians we currently have.
I know.
Absolutely. I could see her completely, because I think she knows how to manipulate. Mm-hmm. She knows exactly how to get what she wants in a way. Obviously, she has evil intent, but she can manipulate and extract what she wants very often without having to resort to that first. And that's kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, the best villains, they take, what's the most efficient way to handle a situation. So not necessarily go press the nuclear button first. It's like, okay, how can we achieve what we want without absolutely destroying what we want to pursue after.
Yeah, exactly.
Claire Cowan, this is okay. Have you booked a ticket to see ABBA live at the new show in London?
No, I haven't. ABBA the party. I haven't actually yet. But funny enough, one of my best friends is going to be in it. So I am going to go.
Really?
Yeah, she's in the new cast because they opened, I think, just as we kind of went into the second hard lockdown here. And it's been massively successful, apparently. And my friend has just got a role in it. So she's going to be starting, I think, in, I don't actually know when, but whatever the next company takeover is. So April or May, I think.
Wow.
So I will be going to the O2 to do some Mamma Mia.
I've never seen it live, but it's on my list.
Oh, well, this is new. The Mamma Mia party is a new show.
Oh, it's a new show.
Now, yeah, so there's Mamma Mia in the West End, which is the one I was in. And then Mamma Mia the party is a brand new concept where you go and you eat and you drink and the whole set looks like the taverna in the film, apparently.
So you're inside of it.
So you're inside of it, eating Greek food, drinking, and then there are characters, but they're not the same characters as in the film or the stage show. They're new characters.
Wow.
That's all I know.
I'm definitely going to look into it for sure.
Yeah, apparently it's like great fun.
Okay. Yeah, I still have to come out to London. I still owe you a visit at your shop, so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Paul Chapman, even though she is beautiful, was it a lot of pressure playing what is supposed to be the most loved and beautiful woman in all of mythology?
No. Yeah. Oh my God, yes. Less so at the time. Yeah. Much more so now when people go like, oh, you've aged or, oh, and you're like, oh my God, it was 30 years ago nearly.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah. So yes, I definitely felt the pressure. And I had no idea that she was meant to, initially, obviously, when I auditioned, I didn't know she was meant to be this beautiful woman that stops everyone in their tracks. And I'm sure I've told this story before, but then I found out and I was a bit like, oh my God, no pressure. Right. And on the very first day that I met Rick, I was standing at the craft service table with a bagel in my hand. They hadn't decided if they wanted to use my hair or a wig. And they liked my hair color, but my hair, as you can see, is curly. And they wanted very much that kind of Cleopatra thing with the fringe. So I think I had like a stocking cap on, no makeup, and like half a bagel being shoved in my throat. And I felt somebody tap me on the shoulder and be like, hey, I'm Rick. And I was in a dressing gown and I was like, to the cream cheese. Oh no. It's like, yeah, I'm the most beautiful girl in the world. In the universe. So, yeah. I was like, well, it's uphill from here. I mean, it can only get better, right?
Right, exactly.
Face, he was like, okay.
Oh gosh, that's so funny. The one of my favorite reactions from you is just a dead stare. Is we know how powerful her scent is because it's technologically enhanced to absolutely screw with the guys. And by the end of that first SG-1 episode, the SG-1 team is immune to it. So by the time we catch up with her in the season 2, at the end of the very last, one of the last scenes, if not the last scene, she's in Jack's face, and he says, you really ought to do something about the breath.
Yeah.
And the look back on your face is like, really? I just gave you this powerful monologue, and that's what you had to say.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that was an ad lib, I think.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember, but there were many.
Oh, geez. What retired millennial? Was it weird to refer to yourself as we in SG-1? I thought I almost noticed a smirk a few times.
It was at the audition because I didn't know. All I got originally was just like 2 pages of a part of the scene. And they didn't say anything about why she's referring to herself in that way. And I know at the time I was like, well, the only people I know who refer to themselves as we are royalty. So I was like, is she crazy or is she a queen? Like, I didn't know what she was. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to play it like she's royal, like that it's not a joke or awkward. So, but no, I think I took to it quite well.
Absolutely. I hadn't been aware of that when I first saw the episode. I was like, who, I mean, the only people who refer to themselves as we is the Borg, you know? And it's like, oh, it's a royalty thing. Oh, well, that makes sense. Okay.
Yes.
She's not just loopy.
No. Queen, darling, a queen.
Tracy says, with voicing a character like Sophie in the video game, does that inspire you to take on a live action role like that on a TV or in a movie?
Oh, hell yeah. I would love to. I mean, I am up for anything. That sounds very dodgy. But I mean, you know, in terms of acting, I feel like I have been an actress since I was 19 years old. So I've been doing it a long time. And I love acting. I love performance. I love play. I really like to challenge myself. So yeah, I'd love to do something like that. Unfortunately, it's not up to me. You know, you have to get an audition, you have to get in the room. And today with films and series, there's so many layers and so many people that you have to kind of like get through before you actually get a job. But yes, if there are any producers out there watching, I'm very open to that.
Matt Somke wanted to know, he says, if you have one, I'd like to know what your favorite John Carpenter movie is.
Oh, John Carpenter, that's like to horror films, isn't it?
I
think. Is he The Shining?
Yeah, I believe so. So,
God, I'm embarrassed. I should know. I feel like I know.
Science fiction and horror. I'm not even sure if I've seen one.
I'm not sure.
Shame on me.
Well, shame on me too. Have you got another question?
It's a long list. Okay, so like Halloween.
Oh yes, of course.
They
Halloween.
Live. Oh, They Live would be my favorite.
Oh, Halloween would be mine.
Yeah.
The first one. The original,
Starman. Did The Thing. Of course, The Thing.
Oh, I love The Thing as well.
Man, that thing.
But still Halloween, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen They Live?
No, I haven't.
So They Live is a film where aliens have come to Earth, but we can't tell that they look like us unless you wear a certain set of sunglasses. And billboards say like "watch TV" and obey, and it's very subversive, but it's a freaky film. So John
I'll check it out.
Absolutely.
I used to love horror films. I was obsessed when I was sort of like 10 to 13. Now I can only watch them like this. Like I have to hide in my hands and sort of peer through one. Otherwise I don't feel safe. I mean, I can barely, I'm like, I can't know. I have to.
Some of them, there's some really good stuff out there. I try to watch one every 2 or 3 months. I'm not a gore fan.
No, same.
But psychological, like Dawn of the Dead, like the original. Ooh,
yeah.
Absolutely. A retired millennial also wanted to know, any of your SG-1 co-stars you keep in particular touch with?
Oh, loads. Yeah. I mean, Amanda and I speak quite often. I'm going to be doing her Gabbard event in September, which will be
good. Okay.
Yeah. So I know they've had to move that, unfortunately, because I think it was meant to be in April. And what was fantastic about Hathor Hosts is it completely renewed my relationship with many of the actors that I'd worked with, and some who I've never worked with. Like Tori and I had never worked together, but I had met her like once or twice. When I say met, it was like, hello, hi, bye-bye. So yeah, when I got in touch with her, I wasn't sure she would say yes. I thought she might be kind of think, oh, who is this woman asking me? But she could not have been nicer. And now I love her, love her. So I Terrell's always busy, but always, speak to her. Chris Judge, I speak to Rick occasionally, like we text. I wouldn't say very often. He tends to go off grid.
Right.
And I was exceptionally close to our darling Cliff, obviously. He was one of my dearest friends from before Stargate, from South Africa, from when we both grew up in South Africa. So yeah, lots of them. And what a fine bunch of people. And I think a real testament, actually, to Brad and the team for casting such a brilliant, or writing, firstly, such a great show, and then also getting such a fantastic group of people together who still are friends. Elena Huffman and I are good mates, like David Blue. It's amazing.
Good
and these
people.
are people, again, that I didn't necessarily work with, but yeah, good people.
I'm regularly, to this day, surprised at how willing people are to communicate stories about the show and talk about that experience, and just come on and give their time for free to fans. Yeah. And then I have to remind myself then that these people were all picked from the same bucket of creators who all had the same approach in mind. Whereas, you know what? We're going to have a good time. We're going to enjoy what we do. The work's going to be hard, but it's going to be great. And then when you look at it from that point, it's like, oh, all these people are going to be of the same kind of ilk when it comes to work ethic and loving what they do. And it's like, oh, well, then that makes sense. They didn't pick a bunch of asshats. These are great human beings.
Yeah. I think Joe Malozzi was saying, like, when I had him on the show, he's like, we made a point of, like, not hiring arseholes, because, like, if people were just dickheads in the room, we'd be like, no, not having them back.
Yeah, life's too short.
Yeah, too short.
Absolutely.
And the older I get, I find that is so true. Like, when you can be on a great project, but if the people on it are not nice, it can be terrible.
Absolutely. When you do like a project like the Princess Switch 3, the third in a trilogy, something's got to be working, and the people have got to either really enjoy the money, like really, or, enjoy coming back together and seeing one another again and appreciating the experience that they have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was obviously the third one was much more about a new character she'd been introduced in the second one, but kind of like one of Vanessa's characters, and it was much more focused on that character, Fiona. So certainly my character was really hardly in it. But it was so lovely that they asked me to come back at all, and to sort of like, dot the I's and be a part of that kind of franchise. Because when we did the first film, nobody had any idea it was going to be a success. The first film was shot like over the summer in Romania on a shoestring budget. Like, no one knew. It was a
sleeper.
Yeah. And people just loved it. So yay.
You can never tell what's going to be a huge success. You can see the material and love the material, but if no one sees it, then no one's going to talk about it with their friends, and it's not going to catch fire. And then every once in a while, one of them, it renews your faith in the system. It's like, see, it does work.
Exactly.
Minor Girl Crafty, what do you think about Amanda Tapping and what she is doing now as a director? We've talked about Amanda before, but
yeah. Oh, I have nothing but love for her. I think that she is, long answer here, but I mean, I think basically she is a spectacular human being. When she was acting and kind of like the only woman in that group of men, powerful men, she always conducted herself, and still does, with grace, humility, humor, hard work. First want to come over and say, hi, I'm Amanda. How are you?
Right.
No airs and graces, no nonsense. And I have a lot of time for that. And she was like that on the very first day we met. And I can, obviously now, because of Hathor Hosts again, because she was on the show twice, and now we're talking much more than we did, say, 5 years ago. But, I would not see her for like 5 years, and then we'd meet at a convention. Like we did, not Dragon Con, what's FedCon together. And like she walked into the hotel, I walked in, and it was like, wow, how are you? And like, that was it. Like for 5 days, we were just inseparable and would meet at night and have drinks in her room and chat and talk about this. And then I was going off to do this show in South Africa, and she texted me and said, have a great performance. And, that's a rare thing.
And
I
it's
think
completely genuine. It's not like, what can I get from you in the long run?
And with everyone. And then I think she's a fantastic director. I mean, I haven't seen everything she's directed, but I've made a point of watching quite a lot of the stuff that she's directed. And I think she's a fantastic director. She's a really good actress, so she's got great instincts. She knows her craft. I would imagine that she's a joy to be directed by, because she's a performer, so she knows exactly how to get what she needs in the shortest amount of time, because television is all about, cracking on as fast as you can. So I think she's fantastic. And I think it's brilliant that she's segued into directing, A, because we need more excellent female directors, and B, because I think it's a really smart thing for a woman as you get older as an actor to have something else to do.
Yeah, I haven't mentioned this a lot because it's like, on the one hand, I'm so thrilled that she's doing what she wants to do. But at the same time, I miss her performances,
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, she's doing what she wants to do, and all the more power to it. But at the same time, I miss seeing her in front of the camera. And I hope that she continues to do one or two here and there, because she's such a good actor.
Exactly.
And she brings so much out in a performance. When she appeared on Travelers, it was gold. It was absolute gold just to watch her. But you have to do what you love to do, and she's certainly put in her time on different fronts in the industry. So can't blame her.
And I'm sure that with the right project, she'll come in and she'll perform again. I'm certain of it.
Absolutely.
We'll make her.
That sounds good. Lock Watcher, of your 3 appearances, which is your in Stargate SG-1, which is your favorite?
I think the first one, actually, probably because I had the most to do.
Right.
My least favorite is the last one, because I didn't expect to disappear and never be seen again.
I loved your outfit in the second and third.
Yeah, me too. And I think they got a better wig as well. So she.
Oh, it's a different wig.
Yeah. The first one, if you look, is quite short. The first one, I think, comes to about here.
Okay.
And then the second one is longer.
So Jaffa got her some bangs trimmed.
Yeah, exactly. Slightly better hair. But so yeah, I think probably the first one, because there was much more to play with, and much more to, the character had a bit more of an arc.
Yeah.
And then I loved like the kind of surprise appearance in the second one.
Right.
Like the kind of cliffhanger. And I originally was like, yay, this could be, maybe I'll be doing this for a while. Never think those things, because the very next day I was like, oh, she dies. Oh.
Well, she is not seen again. So
no, ever.
There's so many. Well, yes, this is true. But there's so many gold that are taken out off screen, and it's like, oh, please, find some way to insert them in the future. So, Akosh wanted to know, if Hathor had been written differently nowadays, do you think she would have seduced women as well?
Yeah, I do. And I think that would be one of the things that that could be really interesting to explore. I think that she would definitely seduce women and men. And I think that there would probably be less... I would quite like to, because one of the things that I have read on some of the forums and things is that people found it, some people really hated the character because they say like she raped Daniel. And I sort of I'd never really thought that.
I suppose you can think of it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't.
Well, she's a villain. She's vicious.
Exactly. So. But I was a bit like, as Suanne, I read that and I was like, oh God, I can't read these things. I was like, but But it really stayed with me because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was not the intention of I don't think at all of the writing. She was kind of enslaving him,
Right.
which is still bad, but exactly that. She was a powerful villain. And I think that if it were to come back, I think it should be men and women.
Yeah.
And I think it should be handled with more nuance today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you can do it in a way that she isn't like, knocking them over the head and then sort of date raping them kind of thing. I think there's a better way of doing that.
Well,
today.
I think, they were looking at it from a mythological perspective. I recently talked with Jonathan Glassner just a few weeks ago, who said, this was news to me, that your appearance was a note from executives saying we want a sexy female in there, and so he was like, well, let's do Hathor, because that's what she is. She sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby. So that was actually created from a note given to production. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, I was surprised. So and then it grew into this creation. But I think were it done today, there would be a hell of a lot more nuance to the character, and it would be more subversive.
Yes. So. And I think that you could have much more fun with her in that sense and make her much more subversive.
You don't know who she's got under her control.
Exactly.
So,
I have you all under control right now.
I think you do. Absolutely. And I am loving every moment of it. All right. Claire Cowan, are you still cooking and dancing?
Cooking and dancing?
Yes, so you like to dance while you cook.
I do. That is very true. I am still cooking and dancing. I'm not cooking at our shop anymore, thankfully.
Okay.
But yes, I'm still cooking and still dancing.
Is the shop doing good?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, knock on wood, it's doing really well. We've had to rethink how we operate as a business because COVID obviously changed everyone's world. So we are no longer really a cafe. We're much more now like you come in, you get your fresh bread, your pastries, your coffees,
so it's a grab and go
stuff. Yeah, but we also now have lots of fresh fruit and veggies, which we never had before. And we do still have seating, but outside only, rather than like a cafe where people, sort of sit all day. And it's been great.
Wow, that's great. Miss Sunstar 81, Suanne, if the Tok'ra had removed Hathor from the host, what would that host herself have been like?
Ooh, that's such a good question.
Tortured. A lot of the hosts are tortured.
Yeah.
We saw Apophis. His host was basically living inside of just in this long cavern of a nightmare inside of his mind, But he's one of the older ghouls. Well, I guess Hathor was too. So, man, there could be a lot of emotional baggage.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would be really interesting to see the opposite of what she is like with the host. So maybe exactly that, broken, betrayed,
introverted.
And we could find it, like completely the opposite, like, but and also maybe like kind of like, why has this happened? Shell shocked but yeah, great question. I have to think about that a bit more. But that would be my instinctive answer.
It'd be the be all and end all of post traumatic stress, for sure. Yeah. It's just these beings inhabiting you and revivifying you over thousands of years in a metal box and crazy stuff. I wanted to ask you if you remember a story from Gatecon of a rugby ball during a ball game that was being broadcast, I believe, at Cliff's request.
Well, I think. I was like, all right, because it's South Africa.
Okay. Yeah. Do you remember this story? Because Steph Rogers at the Gatecon team, she always tells it because it damaged some production equipment.
Where I kicked poor Elaine in the face with a rugby ball. Showing once and for all that ball games are not my forte. Yes, I do remember that. And then I broke her camera. Oh, I have never lived this down. I've apologized. I'm so sorry, Elaine, yet again.
Oh gosh. So there
Yes, I
was.
do remember that vividly.
Do you know that Alan worked it into the set?
No.
So he has Alan Gowan is famous for his Stargate sets. He has a theater background, so he actually
Right.
builds the sets for Gatecon. And in one of them, it is an image of Hathor in her Egyptian form holding a rugby ball.
Oh, I love that. Please take a photograph for me when you guys are there.
I will
'cause
have him send one.
Sadly, I'm not going.
Well, I know it's happening at the same time as the Gabbett event, which is a whole other conversation
Yeah,
to be.
but I wasn't invited, but anyway.
Well, but
never
you're.
mind.
Oh, well, okay. But I will make sure that you
I'm
get
sorry.
that section of the set because it is a beauty.
Yeah, okay,
for
great.
sure.
Thank you.
It has been so wonderful having you back. I am always grateful that you're willing to come on the show and tell us about what's up and sharing more memories of being on this wonderful television show that we share.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're doing well and that you're keeping busy.
Thank you. Yes, I start filming in the next 2 weeks on a new series, which is all I can say right now. So that's quite exciting and lots of lovely things coming up.
Well, we're going to keep an eye on your Twitter and help share that news. So
Yeah,
once that
fantastic.
information comes out, please let us know.
I will do. I definitely will. Thank you so much.
It's so good having you, Suanne. Thank you so much
Oh.
for tuning in. That's my audience. Thank you so much for
Right.
stopping by.
Thank you for having me, and thanks so much for joining us, everyone. What a brilliant evening, afternoon for you. But yeah, really great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Suanne. You take care.
Lots of love. Bye. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Mwah. Bye.
Suanne Braun, Hathor, Stargate SG-1. And if you want to check out Dying Light 2, it is available on Steam. Also, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, the Xbox One, and the Series X and S. And it's going to be coming out on Nintendo Switch as well. We really do appreciate you tuning in. Dial the Gate is brought to you every week for free, and we do appreciate you watching. And if you want to support the show further, buy yourself some of our themed swag. T-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, and hoodies for all ages, as well as cups and other accessories in a variety of sizes and colors at dialthegate.com. You go check out the design that you want and take it from there. You just click on the design and see what options are available. Checkout is fast and easy, and you can use your credit card or PayPal. Just visit dialthegate.com or go straight to dialthegate.com/merch. And thanks so much for your support. We have guests scheduled for next week and the week after. There was a slight scheduling adjustment because of, well, life happens. On the 19th, Saturday of March at 2 p.m., Jeff Gulka is going to be joining us. 2 p.m. Pacific time. He played young Charlie in season 2 of Stargate SG-1. What was the episode? Is it Hide and Seek? Is it Hide and Seek? Let me see here, Jeff. Show and Tell. I was wrong. Show and Tell. And on the 26th of March at 12 p.m. Pacific time, Britt Irvin, who played Marin in Stargate SG-1's Season 3's Learning Curve. The kids of Stargate are coming out this March, and we're happy to have them now as grown-ups to discuss their experiences growing up on the show. Thanks so much to my producer, Linda Gategabber Fury, for helping to make the show possible, as well as my moderating team, Summer, Tracy, Keith, Jeremy, Reese, and Anthony. You guys make the show possible. Big thanks to Frederick Marcoux at Concepts Web, our web developer on Dial the Gate. Also a big thanks to Jeremy Heiner, our webmaster, who keeps the site up to date. And I did have a couple of questions for me. Teresa MC, would you be patient enough for a complete Wraith makeup? Oh, yeah. Yeah, but those, we're talking $3,000 or $4,000 for a process like that. But I would be absolutely, willing to go through that process if we could have something like that for the show. I don't know if I would want a Wraith, though. Maybe. We'll have to think about that. Christina Deloise, has there been any news on Stargate? Well, there is a YouTuber has been purporting to have some information. I can't speak to any of that. There are a lot of rumors flying around out there until we get more information, directly from the horse's mouth, i.e., MGM directly. Just consider everything with a grain of salt. there's a lot of people who are taking advantage, of this lull period for clickbait and everything else. So keep your head screwed on straight. Gate World, I know, will not publish any information unless it's verified. Darren has never had to retract a story. That's what we've got. I appreciate you so much for tuning in. Episode 123. We have more to go, and it's means so much to me to be able to continue to do the show for you. And thanks so much again to Suanne Braun, my co-host for this episode. We will see you on the other side.